Okay, we're back. It's Tuesday, the 31st, and we are back to this chart. We're doing the last part of this chart. We're rearranging formulas. So we have standard form, which is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. We have vertex form, which is y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. And then we have intercept form, which is y equals a times x minus p times x minus q. Okay, last week we looked at going from standard form to vertex form. You have to find the vertex. For the vertex, x equals negative b over 2a. That was just something to help you find the vertex. Vertex is hk. And then we looked at going from intercept form to standard form. You multiply. And we also talked about you cannot go from intercept form to vertex form. That just cannot happen. The last thing we have to do is we have to go from standard form to intercept form. And how you do that is you factor. Okay? So I'm going to do two problems, and you'll have a couple problems to do with this example for your assignment for today. So the first problem I'm going to do, we're going from standard form to intercept form. So I'm going to start out with a problem that's in standard form. Okay. So let's start with y equals x squared minus 2x minus 8. Okay, that is in standard form. How do you factor? Okay. You have to come up with two numbers that multiply to give you negative 8, but add to give you negative 2. Okay. So two numbers that multiply to give you negative 8. So let's go to the side here, negative 8. What are some numbers that we can multiply together to give us negative 8? Well, 1 and negative 8. When you multiply those two together, you get negative 8. You can switch the negative around and do negative 1 and positive 8. Those multiply to give you negative 8. Okay. Do they add to give you a negative 2? No. 1 minus 8 is negative 7. Negative 1 plus 8 is 7. So what are some other things that multiply to give us 8? We've got, negative 8. 2 and negative 4. Or you can switch the negative around and do negative 2 and 4. Both of these also multiply to give you negative 8. But which combination adds to give you negative 2? Okay, 2 plus negative 4, or 2 minus 4, when you add those together, you get a negative 2. That's what we want. Okay, see, when you add these together, 1 minus 8, that gives you negative 7. Negative 1 plus 8, that gives you a 7. Negative 2 plus 4, that gives you 2. Okay. Do you see that this one is the only one, 2, negative 4. When you add those, you get negative 2. Okay. That's the one you want. So now we just have to set it up like we factored it. Okay. So we're going to keep the y equals. And when you factor something, you're factoring into two binomials. This should be kind of a given thing. You're familiar with this. How do you get x squared? Well, that's from x times x, right? And then what two numbers multiply to give you negative 8, but also added to give you negative 2? Well, that would be a positive 2 and a negative 4. Okay. And then you're done. You have factored this. This is your answer in standard form. I mean, not in intercept form. You went from standard form to intercept form. Okay, so let's do one more. just so you're familiar with this process. Again, we are going from standard form to intercept form. We have to factor. That's something you just learned how to do. Okay, so the next example I want to do is y equals 2x squared minus 8x plus 6. Okay, so the first thing we learned about when we factored, we learned about something called the GCF. GCF stands for greatest common factor. Now, when you are factoring, you always want to check to see if your function or if your polynomial has a greatest common factor. This one did not because it was just x squared at the front. Okay. This one starts with a 2 in front of the x squared. So do you see that a 2 can divide into 2x squared, a 2 can divide into negative 8x, and a 2 can divide into 6. So you're going to take out that 2. So this is going to be y equals take out that 2. When you take out the 2 from 2x squared, you're just left with x squared. When you take out or divide out a 2 from negative 8x, negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. Keep the x. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Okay. We factored out a 2. We basically divided each of these numbers, each of these terms by a 2. So now what you have to do is you have to factor this part right here, just like we did up there. So you have to come up with numbers that multiply to give you 3. Multiply to give you 3, add to give you negative 4. Okay, so what are some numbers that multiply to give us 3? Well, 1 and 3, negative 1 and negative 3 multiply to give you 3. Which ones add to give you a negative 4? Well, let's test that out. Let's see which ones add to give us negative 4. 1 plus 3 is a positive 4. Negative 1 plus negative 3, that's a negative 4. That is what you're looking for. Okay, so now let's write that in. So y equals, sorry, you can't see, 2 times, and you're going to have two sets of parentheses when you factor here. How did you get x squared? You've got that from x times x. What two numbers multiplied to give you 3? Positive 3, but added to give you negative 4? Well, that would be a negative 1 and a negative 3. And you're done. You have now factored this, and it is now in intercept form. I'm going to give you 2 questions to do, and stay tuned. You will have a study guide this week, so and you will have a quiz test on Friday. All right.